Akai Haato is the strongest idol in the world, a feet connoisseur, and a 5-star Michelin chef. Trust me on that one, you won't get food poisoning from eating her cooking. After all, she's eating everything she's cooked on stream so far, and she's still kicking. Well, except for that one time. But Haato, also known as her Menhera alter ego Haachama, is more than just a culinary genius. She's a master of chaos, regularly blessing our Twitter feed with eyebrow-raising tweets. Her path to stardom has been anything but easy. From the Taiwan controversy to battling serious health issues and being stuck in a foreign country during very formative years, Haato has faced challenges that would break lesser idols. She's lacked the support system enjoyed by other Japanese VTubers and even access to facilities provided by Hololive, yet she emerged as the VTuber Haachama we know today. Is it schizophrenia or simply a stroke of genius? Let's find out today. Akai Haato, the Japanese virtual YouTuber associated with Hololive, is a fascinating case study in the VTuber world. Debuting as part of Hololive's first generation alongside Yozora Mel, Aki Rosenthal, Natsuhiro Matsuri, and Shirakami Fubuki, Haato initially presented a demure sesso or pure image, the quintessential cute VTuber. However, her journey is anything but typical, especially considering she was one of the 2 underage VTubers ever hired by Hololive. While most teenagers would be focused on parties and friends and shopping, Haato's extracurricular activities revolved around streaming, being a VTuber, and working.
Konnichiwa. Let me introduce myself today. My name is Haato Akai.
Born in Japan, she traveled to Australia to study as a high school student, living far from her family and facing the challenges of balancing adulting and studying. She was thrust into the spotlight, experiencing a rapid rise to fame, only to be stuck in a foreign country away from everybody that she loved during the pandemic. This period, filled with loneliness, pressure, and the anxieties of a global crisis, undoubtedly shaped Haato, for better or for worse. But to truly understand Haato's force of character, we first gotta look into the experience that made her into who she is today. Because before joining Hololive, Haato studied abroad in the Philippines in a high school that her dad described as it would be strict just like a jail.
最初に行ったのはフィリピンって国に行ったのよね。フィリピンに留学した時になんかとんでもない学校に入れさせられて、お父さんになんかお父さんがこうなんか今日からお前はこの学校に入れって言われて、でなんかお父さんの説明も説明なんだけれども、いやこの学校はなんか厳しくて牢獄のような学校だから気を引き締めろよって言われて、そんななんかそんななんかすごい学校なのって思いながら言って。
While she was there, she was hospitalized due to food poisoning from the water and wasn't fluent enough in English to even carry a conversation.
フィリピンに行った時に入院したことあって、フィリピンに行った時に水飲んだらお腹がねえぐれたというかえぐれたは言い過ぎた。普通になんだろうお腹なんかねあれダメなの？フィリピンの水飲んだらダメなんだよ。危なくてそれで入院することになって。
She retells the story, even going to say that while she was saying goodbye to her parents, she was taken to that school like she was kidnapped. And when she got there, she was horrified to find that it actually did look like a prison, surrounded by tall like stone walls much like the Berlin Wall, and then another layer of barbed fence. This would be enough to scare off any teenager.
バイバイしてでなんか車に連れ去られるようにその学校に連れてかれて、で学校に着いたで学校の校門みたいなの見たら本当に牢獄みたいなの。もうなんていうのかしら、こうなんかすごい鉄じゃなくて石のこう壁がグワーってなってて、でもすんごい高い壁になってるのよ。ベルリンの壁的な感じ。しかもそれだけじゃ収まらずに、そのベルリンの壁みたいな 壁の上にさらに、有線鉄線、有刺鉄線ちょっとよくわからないんだけど、それもついてて。
Not only that, but the plates onto which the meals were served were steel plates, as well as the cups. Just like a real prison. In one area of the buffet, the students need to get their rice portion off a mountain of rice that's placed on top of a board, with all kind of flies and bugs flying around it, which would follow her around while she ate. Flies as big as her thumb. Perhaps this is the reason why Haato has such a high tolerance for cursed food nowadays. In fact, Haato does credit her unwavering stomach strength to the unhygienic food habits encountered during her school days.
You'll get food poisoning!
Food poisoning? I never food poisoning. I drink something water. Maybe that's why I went to the hospital.
You even went to the hospital? What?
I went to hospital, and after that my stomach become strongest.
On one occasion, she desired to enjoy her cup ramen in the comfort of her room, seeking to escape the unappealing dormitory cafeteria. However, to her dismay, they did not provide chopsticks, leaving her with no option but to resort to an unconventional utensil, her toothbrush, to consume her meal. In her account, she describes the restrictions imposed on her during her time at the school. As a minor under the age of 18, she was not permitted to leave the school grounds without the accompaniment of an adult. This confinement left her feeling trapped and stifled. When she complained about it to her father, he suggested she simply made friends with someone over 18 to circumvent this rule, which further compounded her frustrations. Moreover, the constant need to be vigilant against thieves and scammers disrupted her sleep, adding to her overall discomfort. Despite these challenges, Haato does not dwell on the past with bitterness. She makes the most out of every situation and still cherishes the memories of going shopping with friends, enjoying Jollibee, and savoring the delicious, sugary breakfast bread she had every morning at that school. Later on, Haato expressed her desire to see kangaroos, and so she traveled to study abroad in Australia this time. There she had a chaotic experience, staying at 3 different homes and moving twice. Looking back, she describes this time as the toughest period of her life, often breaking down and crying on stream. During this time, she had no food and she survived solely on kimchi and energy drinks. And I mean, same! After a few months in Australia, Haato was recruited by Hololive and made her debut in June 2018. Juggling school activities and her VTubing career proved to be extremely challenging for Haato. Thing is, her boarding house was extremely far from school, so she had to wake up really early every morning to get there on time, which is also the reason why she started her morning shows. But because she also didn't want to be late for her morning shows, this just meant that she would put all-nighters just so she could pull off streaming and go into school at the same time. Some problems also arise with the household children she lived with, as she was often shut in her room to stream while they wanted her to play with them, which led to some awkward moments where they would sometimes badmouth her singing in English and she had to pretend she couldn't understand. She attributes this reason as to why she's not confident in her singing or even English skills, but also the main reason for motivating her to work even harder on these skills. And even through this difficult time, Haato would take every single opportunity she could to use her school's computer to further advance her streaming career. If she had a spare moment, she would work on her thumbnails, plan stream content, work on her English, or check out the game she would play later on her stream. She described her VTubing activities as a way to escape reality. While most viewers want to escape reality by watching her, she did the same by streaming to them. She often expressed feeling sad, lonely, and all by herself, yet Haato never gave up. And it paid off, because on September 1st, 2019, she finally reached the 100,000 subscriber milestone and started to experiment a lot more with her content, while sometimes flying back to Japan for 3D streams and to eat lots of noodles. But as every good thing has to come to an end, she unfortunately had to fly back to Australia eventually. 2019 is the year where we started seeing signs of the birth of Haachama, although not officially. To put this in context, Haato is the Japanese pronunciation of the English word heart. Notably, Haachama takes the Japanese initials of Haato and ends her name with Chama, a combination of the Japanese honorific chan, meaning small, often used to imply cuteness or endearment, especially around children, and sama, used to imply power or superiority. Haato, initially known as Haato-sama, felt the nickname was a bit too formal, so in one of her streams, she spun a yarn about her sister calling her Haachama, but it slowly crept back. During the 2020 Hololive New Year stream, Okayu started screaming Haachama whenever Haato messed up, and the name caught on. My wife, Marine, later helped popularize the nickname, which would eventually become synonymous with Haato's chaotic alter ego. Crazy to think that Marine would later go on to say she used to look up to Haachama as the perfect idol.
だってハートマ反応がガチすぎてホロライブ運営のねマネージャーがねアイドルのお手本としてとね船長のデビュー当初はアイドルのお手本として挙げられてたんですよ。分かった分かった。
When March of 2020 came in, the lockdown happened, and it was a very traumatic time for many people in the world, but even more so for Haato, who was stuck alone in Australia. It was during this time that she began to push the boundaries towards crazier content that Haachama is known for today. There she faced several challenges. In one of the homes she lived in, she streamed from the basement for both soundproofing reasons and anonymity. But that also came with a pitfall, the ones of having bugs fall from the ceiling onto her during live streams. That's literally my worst nightmare. Hold up, is that why Haachama started eating bugs on stream? Sometimes she had to live with bad internet, no support from the Japanese facilities the other girls enjoyed, so that also meant no 3D streams and no direct access to personnel in case there's technical difficulty or even just emotional support, not to mention the difference in time zone, which made it incredibly for her to collab with her other gen mates. And whether it be as a form of coping mechanism, as a kind of mind break episode, or as a creative way to express herself, the first glimpse of Haachama's true nature emerged at that time during a Getting Over It playthrough stream. Haato, using her feet to play the game and giving up midway, paused for a moment to take a sniffer off their scent.
ちょっとここで一旦やってみたいことがあった。ちょっとここで一旦ちょっと自分の足の匂いは嗅いでみましょう。くんかくんか。
She later admitted to enjoying sniffing them, solidifying her reputation as a feet connoisseur. This wasn't just a one-time occurrence either. The same day, she had another drawing stream where she used two feet to try and draw some Hololive members, proving that feet are not just for smelling, but for art too. Interestingly enough, her first use of the greeting Haachama instead of her usual Oharush was also during a Getting Over It stream, which featured the iconic Haachama opening theme song composed by Red Alice. It's almost as if the game itself triggered her transformation into Haachama. Haachama then held an iconic press conference to announce her love for her own feet, declaring them smelly to the world. She then proceeded to review foot-related videos sent by her fans, the Hotons. From that point on, Haachama's content became wilder and more unrestrained, embracing the absurd. She hosted R18+ lewd illustrations review streams and even released short clips that were nonsensical, even to her Japanese viewers.
いやこの顔がすごいいい。ごめんなさい。ちゃま。
Her ASMR streams, often unarchived for obvious reasons, were equally bizarre and captivating. Her cursed cooking streams also became a staple, from dark matter pancakes to throwing bugs into her ramen to her world-famous gyoza. Haachama proved her stomach is on another power level completely. And to solidify her penchant for her new persona, she changed her YouTube channel to Haachama channel, fully cementing the existence of her chaotic alter ego. But she would later flip-flop between Haato and Haachama depending on who she felt the most strongly about, keeping audiences constantly on their toes. Funnily enough, she later on reveals in an interview with Kiara that her crazy content started after she got demonetized because some of her ASMR videos were considered sexual by nature. Crazy how we're now in 2024 and the same thing is still happening on YouTube. I guess some things never change. But this did not deter Haato. Instead of breaking down and feeling demotivated, she doubled down and you could say she started her anime villain arc there. And Haachama was thus born.
そうなの。まあ、ハーチャマはセンスじゃないね。
Her demonetization is also the reason why Haato has a second sub-channel called Akai Haato Sub. She actually streamed on that channel and her first stream there took place on December 12th, where she jokingly presented herself as a rookie VTuber, kind of like a newbie with plans to update both channels. But when in a twist of fate, Haato's main channel was remonetized in January 2021, the sub-channel was then rebranded and renamed to Haachama Dark Web Channel. The archive of that channel were mostly privated, but it became a dedicated space for uploading shorts for her, and this channel is still up to this day. Haato's dedication to improve her Japanese and English also deserves a serious mention in this video. After all, English-speaking VTubers of this scale were incredibly rare at the time. While fans often attribute the bridge between the English fandom and the Japanese VTuber fandom to Kiryu Coco, Coco actually admitted that the reason why she joined Hololive was because of Akai Haato. So in fact, Haato was the first to popularize the international VTuber trend. Haato really took the time to perfect both languages. She would plan streams learning Kenji and also tried to interact with her English viewers as much as she could, which is why she has such a large English fan base now and why she often takes the time to release both an English and a Japanese version of her statement when needed. In 2020, she accomplished another huge milestone by participating in the first Hololive Fest Nonstop Story. 2020, however, was marked by a large political controversy to the scale the VTuber industry had never seen before. In a stream just like any other, Haachama thanked her viewers while streaming her YouTube analytics, which displayed Taiwan as a separate country. A fatal mistake in the eyes of one country's citizens. Not even a day later, Kiryu Coco repeated Haato's mistake. And this, among a few other events that escalated the situation, created a large outrage from Chinese netizens due to the very long political history and tension between China and Taiwan, who boycotted Hololive and harassed the livers. I'm not going to go all over the events in details again because it's already been covered at length in my Kiryu Coco video, so feel free to check it out for a refresher. On September 27, she and Kiryu Coco were officially suspended for 3 weeks by Hololive, preventing them from doing streaming and Twitter activities following the controversy. The biggest problem was Cover Corp releasing different statements that showed discrepancies between the English, Japanese, and Chinese version. While the English version had no mention of the One China policy, the Chinese statement seemed to cater to Chinese audiences and stated that Cover Corp firmly supported the One China principle. This greatly angered fanbase from both sides who felt like they were being lied to by the company. The Chinese, who thought their cause legitimate, but Hololive was not taking the issue seriously enough and wanted harsher sanctions on both Kiryu Coco and Akai Haato. Meanwhile, the English and Japanese fanbase felt lied to by Cover Corp and felt like they were bending the knee to China. Cover Corp was then later forced to address and apologize the following statement and eventually departed from China, although it seems like they're slowly coming back now. The way both Kiryu Coco and Haato reacted to the controversy was also very different, which triggered different level of angers from the Chinese netizens. When Coco finally came back from her suspension, she had an unapologetic attitude in tune with her rebel-like personality, and she ended her stream with a cheeky message to her haters: "Fuck you," and never come back. On the other hand, Haato took a very different approach. She returned with a tearful apology and seemed eager to avoid drama from now on.
なんかまあはーちゃまはまだまだ未熟なところもあるし、なんかね人生経験のがもう全然なくて、なんかいろいろ突っ走っちゃうこともあるけど、まあ、今回の失敗もちゃんと糧にして。
And Haato already had an established audience on Bilibili. She benefited from more goodwill from Chinese audience who knew her, unlike Kyriokoko, whom Chinese aunties only saw through the lens of this controversy. Unfortunately for Coco, the harassment escalated and even spilled out to other members of Hololive. A few months after the dust settled from the Taiwan incident, Coco announced her graduation on July 1st, 2021, leaving fans heartbroken and bewildered. Whether her decision was directly related to the controversy remains a mystery. There was definitely a couple months of not exactly peace per se, since we've documented Auntie's harassment up until June, such as this one I'll display on screen, but where things became more bearable before she graduated. Nonetheless, it is clear this experience left its mark. After all, it would leave a mark on anybody. What is relevant here is that Haato was racked with guilt and blamed herself for Coco's graduation, as she was the one who initially shared her analytics, inadvertently sparking the entire ordeal.
不注意でさ、アナリティクスなんて載せなければ何もなかったのにってずっと思ってて、ずっと思ってて、でも言えなくて、そのこと言ったらさ、なんでさ、ハーチャマは、なんでハーチャマはさ、今も活動してるのって。
Rumors even swirled that Coco had done the same, taking the brunt of the backlash to shield Haachama from further harm. While this sounds very in character for Kyriokoko, the truth remains elusive. Unarchived live streams show Coco expressing surprise when her VOD reading the analytics was suddenly privatized, casting doubt on the veracity of these rumors. But regardless, events like this have lasting effects on people. It is highly probable that Haato was profoundly affected by the loss of her friend, possibly experiencing some kind of survivor's guilt as she continued on with her VTubing activities without her. But not everything was lost. Haato debuted her fourth 2D costume on October 26. The iconic multi-layered black and red gothic dress with the eye patch, which is often associated with her Haachama alter ego. On December 21st, Haato participated on stage 1 of Hololive's second fest, Beyond the Stage, where she performed a full version of her song Red Heart, which she uploaded the full version on her channel the next month. In the wake of the Taiwan controversy, Haachama starts to appear more frequently. The incident happened in late 2020. The backlash from aunties lasted a couple months and spilled into the next year, so I'm not claiming there is a direct causation to the rise of Haachama. Obviously, no one knows what truly goes into someone's head, but there is some overlap with the tumultuous environment Hololive was facing back then and the more frequent appearances of our dear Haato's alter ego.
今ね、そのちょっとイカれたキャラクターになっちゃったから、初期の可愛いハーチャまで配信する。
So in early 2021, Haato begins to concretize the character of Haachama through a unique series of live streams and recorded videos, and this is probably her most interesting arc. These streams would become a battleground, a back and forth struggle between her two personas for control of her body and her channel. Because you see, after Haachama graduated from her school in Australia and returned to Japan, this made the old Haato regain her power. But Haachama had grown too strong already, so they fought each other to the death during this captivating but also very unsettling Haachama versus Haato arc, which spanned across various streams and videos. The arc is filled with dark and horror-themed elements, a genre Haato herself enjoys a lot, but going into full details about it would definitely get me demonetized and extend this video by an hour or two. But trust me, it's worth checking out the compilation if you have time. I'll go over some of the most memorable moments. It starts with her making her return stream with the full version of the original song Red Heart, seemingly fully embracing the Haachama persona on stream. Haato's viewers then started joking that Haato was dead, and Haachama seemed to agree with them. Then, in a seemingly innocuous stream on February 3rd, while Haachama was playing Minecraft, Haato suddenly took over, shifting midstream back to her own persona. On February 4th, a video of Haato being kidnapped by Haachama appeared in an unarchived stream. The hashtag #FreeHaato was then created, and Haato returned to streaming, seemingly with no memory of the kidnapping. On February 5th, Haachama was streaming, and just when we thought Haato was finally destroyed, we actually found out in an incredible plot twist that they both shared the same body, and thus could not be completely destroyed. Ever. Kinda like a Jujutsu Kaisen situation. On February 7, a concerning video titled Free Haachama went up, and the hashtag Free Haachama was then born. In this infamous stream, Haato was in the midst of a normal stream when Haachama breaks into her apartment and chops off her head. Haachama then takes over the rest of the stream, and a creepy video later surfaced of all the different versions of a Haachama calling each other on Discord. Haachama then declared that she didn't want to coexist with Haato, and viewers were horrified to find out that Haato was tied up in a cage behind her. Later that day, Haato, in a video of her own, revealed that she would live as long as Haachama did, before suggesting that they killed Haachama. The drama continued to escalate. On February 9th, a video titled Revive Haato went up, with Haato waking up to find her head gone. She then attempted to drug Haachama. Later, we found she was sporting a black collar with stitches underneath, as if her head had been sewn back into Haachama's body. Haato even changed her Twitter and YouTube accounts back to Akai Haato. On February 10th, she celebrated her 1 million subscriber milestone with a video revealing their complicated relationship. This arc terrified even some of Haato's genmate who questioned whether Haachama was serious or just memeing. And honestly, who knows?
みんなさ、夢伝染しちゃうかもね、今日。怖すぎ、怖すぎ。
怖すぎね、一番怖いの来たやんけ。おはるじゃ、やばい。やばい。頭が狂っちまう。怖いよ。On February 12th, Haato tweeted that Haachama's death was only one of 3 possible endings. The saga continued with more twists and turns until March 3rd, 2021, when Haato privated all of the Haato vs. Haachama lore videos, citing new rules from Hololive management, probably in fear of the videos demonetizing her channel again. It's good to note that later in the month, a few of the videos were then made public again. For clarity, the storyline was cut right when a twisted and not so pure cannibalistic 3D personality, either real or fake, was introduced, named by the fan-based Red Heart Chan, in a stream titled with the hashtag Team Haato. Shortly after, Haato made a statement on Twitter that she would go on a journey to find herself for a while, before going on a hiatus. There has been no activity on her YouTube channel or her Twitter account throughout March, apart from a contracted promo tweet regarding a collaboration with Family Mart. Haato returned to streaming on March 30th with the hashtag coexist, claiming that the storyline had reached its conclusion and her 2 personalities had agreed to coexist together. She admitted to lying about needing to find herself and revealed that she had envisioned the project as if she was making an anime of herself. She described her approach to the Haachama saga as action first, think later, and even called herself a masochist under pressure. And honestly, I believe her. On April 6, Haato goes on another hiatus for the sake of her mental health before returning on April 26, totaling a 3-week break. On June 12, Haato announced she would go on an indefinite hiatus for undisclosed reason during a short livestream, though later she attended Kiryu Koko's graduation stream live on July 1st and Uru Harushia's 2nd year anniversary 3D live on July 18th. On July 24th, Haato returned to her streaming activities after a 6-week hiatus, which she explained as for academic reasons. Haato was not planning on returning to streaming so soon, but was persuaded by Amane Kanata and Kiryu Koko to return when the three of them had a meal together. Her post-return stream the following day was a Reddit meme review, originally hosted by Kiryu Koko, which was definitely a tribute to her former genmate, but also incredibly fitting for Haachama to inherit the infamous meme review streams from Koko. 2023 was marred with even more health struggles for Haachama, to the point where on March 19th, Haato's manager had to take over her Twitter account to notify her audiences that she would go on a hiatus for a while due to poor health reasons. On July 24th, Haato's manager updated us on Haato's situation, publishing on Twitter a statement made by Haato herself. In it, Haato reveals that she had been hospitalized since right after the 4th Hololive Fest and was just recently discharged, stating that while she is better, more time would be needed for her to recover and eventually return to her activities. On September 20, 2 videos, one in English and one in Japanese, were uploaded to her YouTube channel, expressing how she sometimes felt like she was falling apart but wanted to stay strong for her fans.
I've had a hard time playing, and sometimes I feel like I'm falling apart. But when I saw the kind messages, I realized that there is a place for me and my heart was safe.
If that wasn't clear through the rest of the video, Haachama has always been committed to be the best version of herself no matter the curveballs life threw at her. And it threw a lot of curveballs at her. During the 4th Hololive Fest, she felt ill, yet she pushed through just to be able to give us this concert. But as soon as it was over, she was admitted to the hospital and had to take on an extended hiatus. Haachama's story is a show of her incredible willpower. Not only she survived a tumultuous time in Philippines, a lockdown in Australia, but she thrived. She powered through when her friends had to quit the agency. She powered through her illness to give us the best concerts and content. She powered through language barriers to become the best idol she could be. And she always remained committed to bettering herself as an international idol by overcoming language barriers, which made her become a beloved and influential figure in the VTuber industry. And if you had any doubts, now you know why Haachama is called the world's strongest idol. Or maybe she's just a case study of how insane you end up if you become a VTuber too young. Who knows? Thank you so much for watching. Please do me a favor and subscribe and like the video if you haven't done so already. And if you've made it this far into the video, leave a #coexist in the comments below. If you want to support the channel even further, check out my merch on otakubon.com. Not to brag, but it's really great. And check out my Patreon for more exclusive contents and perks. Until next time! One time she even wanted to eat her cup ramen in her room to avoid the nasty cafeteria, but they never even... I don't know if this makes sense. Some problems also arise with the household children as she was... Some problems also arise with the household children she lived in. She lived with. Well, to put this in context... sorry, not while. To put this in context, Haato is a Japanese pronunciation of the English word, Lord Lady or Master. Okay, I'm just going to remove that. In one of the homes she lived in, she streamed from the basement for both soundproofing reasons and anonymity. I can say that word. The first glimpse of Haachama's true nature emerged during a Getting Over It playthrough stream. Oh, why am I like this? Kinda like a Jujutsu Kaisen situation, but way before its time. Wait, it wasn't way before its time. It came out in 2018, I'm just late.